There is this quiet pull at the heart, a sense of emptiness, not loud, but persistent. We go through the motions, we laugh, we talk, and yet deep inside we feel something is missing. This restlessness, this weight on the chest, those silent questions at night, they are not a weakness. They are ancient. They are human. And they were already there, almost 400 years ago, when Blaise Pascal tried to understand them. In this video, we will encounter the inner restlessness of the heart, and one of the deepest answers ever offered in the history of philosophy. Quiet, simple, yet immense. Pascal was not merely a mathematician or a physicist. He was a thinker of the abyss, one who did not shrink from speaking of the vacuum within the human heart. He watched others and himself, and came to a quiet, unsettling conclusion. Man is but a reed, the feeblest thing in nature, yet he is a thinking reed. Fragile as we are filled with thought. Yet it is this very gift of thinking that stirs our restlessness. For we sense there is more than what we see, more than the routines of daily life, the noise, the pursuit of possessions. Pascal spoke of an immeasurable emptiness that dwells within the human heart, a void no distraction, no success, no earthly pleasure could ever truly fill. There is in the heart of man a void, infinite in scope, which only the infinite itself can fill. And so it is. We try to fill the void with films, with endless distractions, with success, with consumption, with human contact. Yet the emptiness lingers. For the longing within us is far greater than anything finite could ever satisfy. Pascal understood that we are fleeing, above all, from one thing, ourselves. From the emptiness, from the silence, from being alone with the beat of our own heart. He once wrote, "All of humanity's misfortune stems from one thing, the inability to sit quietly in a room alone." What he meant was this: we are addicted to distraction, not because it is good, but because without it, we would have to face the storm that rages within us. And how right he was. Just think of yourself. How often have you unlocked your phone without even knowing why? How often have you fallen asleep in front of the television just to avoid feeling? This restlessness is not external. It lives deep within, and it slowly wears us down from the inside out. Pascal does not see this restlessness merely as a problem, but as a sign, a call from the depths. He believed man carries within himself a memory of something he has lost, something higher, something eternal, and this restlessness is the echo of that memory. Pascal once wrote, "Man seeks happiness because he unconsciously remembers a state he has lost." This means your restlessness is not a defect. It is a trace leading back to your origin. Here, Pascal moves close to the mystical. What we lack is not something of this world, but something intangible, something that can be felt, but never grasped. Søren Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher of existence, describes something similar, but from a different angle. For him, it is anxiety, not fear of something specific, but fear of nothingness. The anxiety that arises when you realize everything is possible, and yet nothing is certain. Pascal, on the other hand, speaks of the restlessness of the heart, not from fear of freedom, but from the absence of meaning. Both describe an inner condition that paralyzes us, but also calls to us. A quiet call that can lead us into deeper waters, if only we dare to listen. Blaise Pascal understood. The restlessness of the heart is not the problem, it is what we do with it. The heart is open, vulnerable, awake, but we often numb it. To escape the emptiness, we run. We distract ourselves, we dull our senses. We flee from the very moment where we might finally meet ourselves. But Pascal whispers, "Stop running." Not because there is nothing left to do, but because in the silence, truth is waiting. As Pascal wrote in his Pensées, which means thoughts, man is great when he is aware of his own wretchedness. The first step, Pascal realized, is not to act, but simply to stop running away. For behind the restlessness, there is something sacred, something that only reveals itself when we dare to be still. He once wrote, "All men seek happiness, even those who hang themselves." What does he mean by this? Every human being longs for meaning, for belonging, for light. But many, in their despair, reach for destructive paths because they can no longer bear the silence within. That is why Pascal calls out to us, do not flee from yourself. Stand still, even when it hurts, because it is there, and only there, that the path begins. Pascal is no moralist. He does not accuse. He sees the human being in all his fragility. He once said, "Man is neither angel nor beast, and the misfortune is that when he tries to act like an angel, he becomes a beast." We long to be perfect, controlled, strong, but in the very striving we lose ourselves. Pascal points to a different movement, not a sent through force, but a turning through humility. Within us lies a hidden place of openness, an inner chapel, not built from knowledge, but from silence. Pascal once wrote of his inner dialogue with the voice of God, "You would not seek me if you had not already found me." Longing itself is already a trace, and whoever follows this longing, honestly, quietly, patiently, may encounter something that cannot be made, but can only be given. It means, when you stop endlessly chasing outer solutions, when you no longer see your longing as a flaw, but as a guide, something may arise within you, not created by your will, but revealed, given, bestowed. Pascal was a great mathematician. He understood the power of logic, and it was precisely because he understood it that he knew it was not enough. He once wrote, "The heart has its reasons, of which reason knows nothing." This is one of the most essential sentences of his philosophy. It does not mean we should abandon thinking, but that there is a deeper kind of knowing, a knowing that happens through the quiet listening of the heart. The modern mind often believes everything can be explained, solved, controlled. But Pascal shows us, the great truths do not come through proofs, but through inner consent. Man is not healed by information, but by a touch from within. But how can we live this? Pascal was no monk, no dogmatist. He did not wish to build monasteries, but to open inner spaces. Here are his quiet invitations, still possible even today. Learning to dwell in solitude, not as isolation, but as an encounter with inner life. A walk, a room without a screen, half an hour a day where you do not want anything, only to perceive. Solitude is a path to truth, if you do not flee from yourself. Listening to the words of the heart. When you sense an emptiness stirring within you, do not listen only to your thoughts. Ask yourself, what is truly calling within me? Perhaps it is not depression, but an awakening longing. Prayer without words. Pascal was a Christian, but his approach is not ecclesiastical, it is mystical. For him, prayer is a gesture of the heart, not of the mouth. Not, give me something, but I am here, a posture, an opening, a being here before the infinite. In the end, one word remains with Pascal, a word that has become rare today: trust. Not blind, not naive, but a delicate inner knowing that man is not sufficient unto himself, and yet within him lives a light that answers to the light beyond. He once wrote, "We know the truth not only by reason, but by the heart. This is the principle of love." Pascal calls us not to master life, but to allow ourselves to be touched by it. And so his solution is not a method, it is a return to ourselves, to the heart, to the silence. Pascal's philosophy was never meant for libraries. It was written with tears, lived through sickness, loneliness, and silence. He was a man who knew darkness, and it was precisely because of this that he understood what light truly means. His response to inner restlessness is not loud. It is not spectacular. It begins when no one is looking. In the everyday, in the small, in the seemingly invisible. Pascal does not call us into another world. He invites us to step into this world, but differently. Pascal taught, the greatest spiritual movements often begin in the most unremarkable moments, not while studying lofty thoughts, but while observing your own heart as you wash the dishes, while listening when every part of you wants to scroll, while staying still when the feeling of emptiness rises within. As Pascal reminds us, true greatness lies in making oneself small. This is not self-deprecation. It is an invitation to simplicity, to the ability to be present without always reaching for what comes next. When you drink your coffee, do not do it absent-mindedly. Do it with open awareness, because it is exactly there that silence can begin. Pascal believed that man carries happiness within himself, but is always searching for it outside. He describes how we replace meaning with entertainment, only to become even emptier. And modern life mirrors exactly that. We fill every gap with noise, every second with distraction. But what remains then of ourselves? Pascal advises, find an inner space, a place not defined by achievement, but by perception. Perhaps it is a quiet gaze out the window, a moment before sleep where you ask, what within me remained unseen today? These are not rituals in a religious sense, but gestures of return, back to yourself. Inner restlessness does not grow smaller by being ignored. It grows smaller when we embrace it, gently. Pascal would say, sit with it. Do not argue against it. Listen to it. In Pascal's words, man's greatness lies in his ability to recognize himself and not to flee. So if you feel empty, do not ask, how can I get rid of this? Ask instead, What lies beneath this emptiness? Maybe it is not emptiness at all. Maybe it is space, finally cleared, so that something real can emerge. Pascal knew, man does not live alone, and often, restlessness can be healed in encounter, but not through distraction, through tender presence. Perhaps it means, in a conversation, not to answer, but simply to listen, without judgment. Perhaps it means to give space to another, rather than filling it with advice. Pascal might have said, "In the meeting of two hearts, God may whisper," or being itself. We live in a world of instant solutions, but inner stillness, inner healing, is not a product. Pascal invites us to wait, not passively, but openly. The heart needs time to open, and sometimes nothing happens. And precisely there, the miracle begins. He once wrote, "Truth is not something we make, but something that reveals itself when we become empty." So if you are waiting, do not be frustrated. Perhaps you are closer to the truth than ever before. The restlessness in the heart is not a weakness. It is not a flaw. It is a calling. A quiet reminder that we are more than what we do, more than our roles, our thoughts, our stories. Blaise Pascal invites us, not to flee, but to stay, to listen, to wait, to trust. For in the depths, he says, where everything grows silent, something begins to speak. Not loudly, not logically, but truly. And perhaps this is where healing begins. Not when the restlessness disappears, but when we learn to listen to it.